Piyush ji starts his lecture. And he says, I am impressed by the leadership of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He says, the president and vice president sitting together early in the morning and committing themselves to the well-being of the profession. What else can you do, expect? And that is what Piyush Goyal is to us. He honors us by his kind presence today, and I'm sure he will enthrall us with his deliberations. I will not take much of your time. May I now request Piyush Goyal ji to kindly come and deliver his address. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Debashish Mitra, President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. I think that was a little more generous than required. Shri Aniket Talati, the Vice President of the Institute, all the distinguished members of the Central Council of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, the regional councils, all the delegates from, I'm told, over 105 countries who have assembled here today, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a matter of great privilege for me to be here before you to discuss the very, very critical and important subject of navigating the global economic recovery at this 21st World Congress of Accountants. It's probably for the first time that this has come to India, and I would like to add my warm welcome to all the international delegates who have joined us in my home city of Mumbai today. When we look at the current situation all around us, I'm reminded of the 1985 book, Leaders, the strategies for taking charge, in which the theory of VUCA, V-U-C-A, was articulated by Warren Bennis and Bert Vannes. In fact, Bert Vannes, at that point of time, a lot of people thought that it was the US military which has come out with this theory of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. But it was brought out in the context of changing times, challenging times, and leadership was encouraged to think beyond the present and today. The world is continuously going to be in a state of flux. The rate of change is very rapid. One can't envisage what's going to happen today evening, tomorrow, the week after, the month after. And unexpected challenges are being faced by the world constantly. We face it in our day-to-day lives. We face it in our business, in our profession. Nations face it at the macro level, whether economic, social, political. And in this very volatile situation, what's going to happen tomorrow? There are so many unknowns, so many things that we had least expected happening at a point of time most inappropriate, where there are multiple key decision factors. The complexities are so humongous that preparing yourself to face these challenges, these uncertainties, becomes even more complex. And one really doesn't know the impact of every event. There's a lot of ambiguity around what is happening in our lives, what is happening in the world. In this situation of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, true leaders are born. Leaders with a vision. Leaders with a deep understanding, who are able to decongest the situation, demystify what is happening around us. Leaders with a clarity of vision to know what is the way forward. And leaders with agility who can take tough decisions quickly on their feet and find solutions to the problems that all of us face in our circumstances. So you have VUCA leaders also, leaders with a vision, with an understanding, with deep clarity and agility. And I think all of us sitting before me are such leaders, are leaders of tomorrow who are going to help this world navigate this global economic crisis that we see all around us today. The accountancy profession has that capability, has that educational skill, has the deep understanding which is required to change tomorrow, to change what the world is going to be like tomorrow. Amidst global economic uncertainty, we have supply chain disruptions which continue in the post-pandemic period. Inflation is rearing its head in most parts of the world. In fact, the developed countries are seeing inflation at 40-year highs, 30-year highs, 5 times, 8 times the highest that they've seen or what their norm is. There's an energy crisis in different parts of the world. Food security has become an important area of discussion and debate. Amidst all these challenges, some of them brought upon countries by bad economic management, I think India provides the bright, shining spot in the world economy where deft handling of the COVID pandemic, very reasonable measures taken to sustain and grow the economy despite the challenges of the once-in-a-century pandemic, where macroeconomic fundamentals were given a strong focus, where inclusive well-being of society and every section of society was taken care of so that no person, howsoever marginalized he may be, howsoever disprivileged he may be, is left behind. Where very deft handling of the geopolitical conditions around us has been witnessed over the last couple of years, where we are working to a plan, to a vision to make India a developed nation by 2047, to take prosperity to 1.4 billion Indians. I believe we have demonstrated to the world that despite any amount of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, any challenges that ambiguity may bring in, India has the capability, India has the leadership, India has the skills that is required to navigate economic recovery, not only for India, but as Honorable Prime Minister says, India believes that the world is one family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is the theme of our G20 presidency. And for every Indian, it is very natural not only to care for himself or herself and our families, our friends, our near and dear ones, but to care for the world, to care for society. And it is in this context that when we take up the G20 presidency from 1st of December, we have articulated the theme, One Earth, One Family, One Future. And in this 75th year of India's independence, celebrated across the country, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, while we have rejoiced 75 years of achievements, the focus of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi and the people of India has been to craft a future, to plan, to envision where we wish to see India as we celebrate 100 years in 2047. The world economy today is looking up to Indian economy to steer growth, to promote progress, to show the way. They recognize that with strong economic fundamentals, with a large young population, our demographic dividend, a consumer base unmatched anywhere in the world, skill sets and management abilities of our young boys and girls, the fire in the belly that each Indian has today to work for a better future for his or her families, for our nation. India will lead the way in the next decade, 2 decades, as some economists have said, probably for the rest of the century. And why do I say India has the ability to lead the world? A lot of it is to do with our culture, our tradition, our rich heritage, our history, from where we draw inspiration, from where we draw our lessons. While the world focused on consumption-led growth, and a lot of it was to do with wasteful consumption, India focused on sustainability. Every Indian respected nature. India believes in intergenerational equity. We believe that it is incumbent on each one of us to leave behind a better planet than the one we have inherited. A better world for our children, for the next generations, than what we received. And therefore, when the concept of lifestyle for environment, was presented before the world by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, when he spoke of sustainable lifestyles, when he spoke about the circular economy, it came from within, it came from our actions, it came from what India has consistently believed in. The world today recognizes what India has been articulating as the only way forward if we have to save the world from climate change, and the impacts of the very, very serious impacts of climate change. And I'm delighted that we are all committed towards working for a better future, working for a better life, not only for every Indian, but for the world at large. And we as accountants are the custodians of this vision. We will be required from time to time to validate the progress of this vision. We will be required to recognize whether all that the world has promised, all that is agreed amongst nations is truly being implemented. Because ultimately, we sign the balance sheet, we certify the true and fair picture. And the true and fair picture today cannot be just in the numbers. The true and fair picture, the reality, is also very complex. We'll also have to factor in all the various elements that matter, all the various elements of any complex organization. It could be a simple business, it could be a nation's accounts, it could be the world's reality. And we as accountants have a very important role to play in showing the mirror to the world, in showing the reality. And in this day and age, when world economies are under stress, I'm delighted to see the wonderful program that was drawn up for the 21st World Congress of Accountants. I was running through some of the subjects that were discussed, some of the articles in your book, and clearly I can see that we as accountants recognize that enhancing trust and confidence in various ways. It could be in information flow, it could be about sustainability, could be about wealth creation, it could be about reporting. Each of the subjects that I am seeing here, the regulatory frameworks in which we work, the digital world where emerging technologies are helping us find solutions to the various problems of business and our lives so that we can make it easier to do business, we can help ease of living for the common man. Every session here, whether it's on technology, whether it's on innovation, whether it's on entrepreneurship, is something that resonates with the accountancy profession. In the global economic recovery, as the world tackles the problem of inflation, as the world prepares itself for better energy security, food security, as we vision the future where innovation and technology is going to drive growth, it is the responsibility of all of us accountants to work with government, with institutions, regulators, businesses, industry, in various aspects. It could be the achievement of sustainable development goals. It could be about growth, not only in numbers, but in terms of lifestyle, in terms of prosperity. We will all have to embrace certain best practices. We will all have to support resources that are required to make our profession contemporary. We'll have to promote the small and medium industries in their contribution to the economy in terms of jobs, in terms of economic activity, and we will all have to collectively bring in the highest levels of ethics and good standards, both in the working of businesses and government and in our own reporting. But I am very, very confident that each one of us sitting here before me is a global leader, a person conscious of his responsibilities to the world. And through these challenges, through these uncertainties, our role will only get bigger and more important. We will have to become contemporary, remain more focused on remaining abreast with technological innovations. We'll have to embrace the digital world. I'm glad that the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has also been augmenting the quality of reporting that we as Chartered Accountants are required to do. And I'm sure the world must have noticed that as a regulatory body of this profession, the Institute of Chartered Accountants is a role model for other institutes to follow. I'm sure the global collaborations that you are working on, I'm sure the 77 odd offices that you have across the world will now grow to 100 very quickly. Only day before yesterday from Bengaluru, I was privileged to launch the castartups.org, a new initiative by our institute members to promote entrepreneurship, to promote our startups. And I see that Mr. Talati's father has written a very good article on enhancing the startup ecosystem in India in our booklet for this World Congress. And clearly, this shows that our profession is live, understands the needs of tomorrow, recognizes where the growth engine is coming from. I would urge accountants from all across the world to come together, probably even envisage forming an international body of accountants which can try and harmonize the standards of accounting, harmonize the standards of reporting, our regulatory standards, our standards of high ethics in the conduct of our profession, so that as a body of professionals, as a body of accountants, we are able to help businesses and the governments of different parts of the world work towards synchronized accounting, which is also going to help in forging partnerships between nations, like-minded nations, who trust each other, who can work with each other. And I do believe, going forward, the acronym that India has earned as a trusted partner, particularly for the work during COVID, where India did not let down a single customer anywhere in the world for any good or service. Indian businesses met every commitment that was made to anybody in the world for any merchandise, for any service, for any back office operation, for any R&D work. India was at the forefront of the collective fight against COVID. And today more and more countries want to engage with India. They want to have economic partnerships. They want to do free trade agreements. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a reflection of the times to come. And we are all accountants. We can do the maths, we can do the calculations better than anybody else. And if one was to see the progress made by India in the last 25 years, 30 years, whatever time frame any of you wants to pick up, you will find that over the last 25 years, the Indian GDP has grown by about 11 times in US dollar terms, from about $270 billion to over $3 trillion today. I suggest you do the maths for the next 25 years. And this is on a business as usual case, given the fact that today we provide the largest delta of opportunity between where we are now and where we will be in 2047. We have an opportunity to fast-track economic growth in India, for which all the building blocks are currently being prepared. You see the large focus on infrastructure creation. You see the large focus on having strong macroeconomic fundamentals. You see the focus on building the industrial base through ease of doing business, through reduction of compliances, decriminalizing various laws, making it much more attractive to come and do business in India. And I'm reminded of a colleague, chartered accountant, with whom I was doing some research over the last 15-20 days, which he has just presented as a research paper only a few days back. If you were to compare the economic returns or the growth of the top 500 companies listed on the stock exchange between four large economies of the world, the United States of America, China, Japan and India, you will find that over the last 20 years, India outperformed all the other three competitors. And nearly 1 out of 4, friends, nearly 1 out of 4 of our top 500 companies listed in the BSE 500 index has given a 20% CAGR return consistently for 20 years. 20% CAGR for 20 years, which he calls 2020. Whereas in none of the other countries, in fact our northern neighbor, probably it's 2 or 3 companies only. Even in the most developed economies of the world, no other country has been able to give the kind of returns that Indian corporates, Indian businesses have given to their shareholders, to their investors. And that is the big opportunity that India holds. And that is the reason I can safely predict that India will help the world navigate economic recovery. India will lead from the front, because nowhere else in the world, my friends, is there a market which will absorb maybe 200 million dishwashers or 200 million washing machines or maybe 200 million automobiles. Show me one other part of the world which has a market of the dimension and size of India. Show me another country whose inflation today is half of what it used to be 10 years ago. You will not find a single parallel anywhere in the world. Fastest growing large economy is a tag that every Indian collectively has earned for himself or herself and for our nation. And therefore, friends, let us meet the changing needs of tomorrow, the demands of tomorrow, for a resilient economic growth, for a sustained economic recovery. Economic recovery will happen when all of us from all the countries in the world work together so that we can recover faster. As they say, what we can do together, we cannot do in isolation. And therefore, let us all work towards global recovery. Let us all work to strengthen sustainability. Let us all work to bring about higher and better standards and global collaborations in our work so that going forward, global solutions will come out of our global leaders assembled in this room here today. My best wishes to this World Congress, and I am very confident that each one of you, 6,000 odd delegates who have come from across the country and the world, will go back re-energized, recharged, reinvigorated for the resurgence that the world is going to see in the days and years to come. Thank you very much.
A standing ovation, ladies and gentlemen, please. A very brief words of thanks, Honorable Minister C.A. Piyush Goyal ji. Sir, what better endorsement of the love, respect, regards that the entire profession has for you, that on a Sunday afternoon in a city like Mumbai, we have a full house eagerly waiting to listen to our Honorable Minister Piyush Goyal ji. Sir, the profession is proud of you, and as the President said, you are the pride poster boy of this profession. You are what we all look up to. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing about VUCA and stating that each one of us has the leadership capacity to take the world forward. Sir, I can only state what you mentioned about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one world, one family, one future. Yesterday we had so many institute leaders come and meet President sir and myself. And what a lot of them came and told us was, after coming to India, we feel that we as accountants are also one family, sir. So that culture has resonated throughout this accounting world. We are truly Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And sir, in this Congress, we have all resolved to make India a global service delivery hub for accounting and professional services. And startups are going to be truly promoted, not just by us accountants, but ICAI will also put all its might, sir, behind this startup ecosystem. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Honorable Minister Piyush Goyal ji for coming here today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I now request the Honorable President and Vice President of ICAI to present C.A. Piyush Goyal with a memento as an expression of gratitude on behalf of entire audience here. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Like the Honorable Minister said, it is a VUCA world, but perhaps this is an opportunity to also bring forth VUCA leaders. So we continue with the same theme, navigating the global economic recovery. We have already heard the Minister's view as to what's the recipe to create a resilient, sustained economy. And the VUCA leaders will ensure that. Here the VUCA could well be vision, understanding,